What's happening, everybody? This is just a short impromptu live that I'm doing. Before I even start the live, as usual, I hope that you're doing well. I hope that your Mondays are going well. And if they're not, I hope that it gets better, whatever it is. I also wanted to take a little bit of time to just promote my interview that is coming up today. It's not a live interview, so it's not like I am interviewing her live, but it's going to be a premiere. So I did the interview a couple of weeks ago. It's premiering today. And I hope that all of you jump on my channel, 6 p.m. Eastern time, to check it out. Hi, Danny. So to let everyone know what the interview is and how it came about, something that I have found a lot of people on my channel seem to enjoy when we talk about these reality TV shows, particularly like a Big Brother or a Survivor, or sometimes even The Challenge, even though my biggest population is the Big Brother fans. A lot of people are always like, I wonder about the psychological impacts of being in this social experiment of these TV shows, like what it can do to the castmate and the after effects, ways that they can prepare themselves and arm themselves to go on the shows, responsibilities that production should have and responsibilities that the other castmates should have, etc. Now, I attended something that was put on by Wendell and Bryce of Survivor, which you'll hear me talk about in this interview. And it was called Real Talk, Reality TV and Mental Health. I believe that was the name of it. I've posted it on my page a few times. But it was basically an event that was hosted by this particular psychotherapist and a producer, and also Wendell and Bryce from Survivor, like I was saying. And she was on the panel. So a lot of them said some really great things, and she said some really great things. So after that thing that I attended, I reached out to her and asked her if she would have an interview with me on my channel regarding it. And she was very enthused by the question, and she was like, definitely, let's set up a time. We figured out a time that worked, and we got an interview. And I think that it's a little different from what you might see on other channels, and you might like it. You might not, who knows? You know, everybody has different interests, but it's worth a watch. I would love for you to give it a watch, especially if you're a supporter of me. Take a look. Give it your comments, your feedback. I'll be there live watching it with you. So that's just my promotion that I'm putting out there first. Secondly, the actual topic of this live that I'm doing right now, and this is going to be relatively quick. It's just about how knowing when something is a gift of yours versus something that is not a gift. I think that most people think that a gift has to be something that looks extraordinary. Like you have to have some kind of extraordinary talent. Like you got to be the best artist, or you have to have this amazing singing voice, or you know, things that just really strongly stand out. That's what people think of as gifts. I know somebody who, if I gave them a recipe or even explained the recipe to them, any kind of food, any kind of ethnic food, any kind of ethnicity, they could just whip that thing up and it tastes like how it's supposed to taste based on whatever was in the recipe. And then, you know, you might say, well, the dish in this culture actually um, it tastes a little bit different from this recipe because it's spicier or it's more tart or something. And they could just be like, oh, well, that just means that I probably need to put a little more of this and a little less of that. And then boom, the next batch comes out perfectly. That's a gift. Gifts are things that we can kind of do in our sleep. And that doesn't mean that they don't require any effort, but it just means that they're things that are just God given that we can do that a lot of other people can't do, as an example, or they can do as well. I can give another example. I remember when I did my first ever speaking event. I posted a clip from that speaking event the other day. It's on my page. And I remember there was so many things behind the scenes that I was working on with that event. I had other speakers there. I was working on figuring out the venue. I was working on figuring out a whole bunch of different things in relation to getting that together. And my point of saying that is I was working on everything but my speech. So I kept sitting down to figure out the speech. And then it was like there was a distraction or there was something else I had to do for the event or somebody was calling me and trying to figure out um, tickets, buying tickets, or the speakers had questions about the format or whatever. There was just a lot of things going on. And then it was the day before the actual event. And I was like, man, I don't have a speech. I mean, I have pieces of things that I have been writing down over the past couple of weeks, but it's like the thoughts are all over the place. There's a paragraph here, there's a paragraph there, but I like to be prepared, and I like to be prepared ahead of time. And by the way, I'm not advocating for this. Being prepared is still better. But I remember I was in the room, and I had like one sheet of paper, and I was slotted to talk for half an hour. And one standard Microsoft Word document sheet of paper is not half an hour worth of speaking material. If I was just reading it, it's about 10 minutes of material, maybe if not less. So I remember I had myself last on the panel. There was like a panel of 4 of us, I believe, and 3 people went before me. So I listened to everything that everybody said. I was listening to them. I took some mental notes. I'm still not sure what I'm going to say. I have all these different ideas in my head. I'm not sure what I'm going to say. When my turn came, I remember I got up there. The opener, which I also posted on my page, was just something that I before I left. I listened to the other things that I had said. I made some adjustments. Some of the things that I was thinking to say were repetitive to what had already been said, so I took them out. Um, Maybe about 25% of what I had written on the paper I said, and the 75% of it I thought of while I was up there. And at the end, when I was asking people for feedback, they were like, "You did such a great job. You know, your speech was really thoughtful and well put together." And I, of course, was like, "Oh, thank you." I'm not going to tell them. I'm not going to say that I didn't use most of what I wrote on the paper, but I was just like, "Thank you. I appreciate that." But I was thinking that's a gift of mine, being able to make speeches, being going into it, pulling things together and making them work. And I didn't think of that as a gift until recently, until the last couple of years. And I know other people that tell me, like, Mark, I wish I had all your different talents. I do have some different talents, but some of the things that I think are my biggest gifts are not the things that would stand out to you. Like playing an instrument, for example, people are like, wow, you play multiple instruments. You're a multi-instrumentalist. And it's like, yeah, I am, but I'm not the best musician in the world. I know plenty of people who play the saxophone much better than me. I know a lot of people who play the ukulele better than me, the piano better than me. You know, I know people who play multiple instruments and play all of those instruments better than me. In fact, I volunteered at a nursing home for a couple of years, and there was the guy who was the music director at the nursing home could play like 10 plus instruments. He played everything I played and several more, and played all of those better than me. The thing is, my gift is different, is bigger than the instruments. The instruments, conversation. The conversations that I have are also a gift of mine, which is the reason why I started doing these recorded conversations for YouTube. This following on this page has only started seeing me do this. Let's see. I think the first one that I ever put on this page was with Ayana. And I think that was sometime middle of last year. That was the first one anyone on this particular page had seen me do. But I had another YouTube page, and I think my first interview that I did on that page was like, hey, come to do this interview. Am I going to be able to fill up the time? And then when the thing starts, the question just comes to me because it's just a gift. So I guess to sum this up, when thinking about which things are gifts for you, think about things that are very intricate, but yet simple for you to do. And when I say simple, I don't mean that it's not hard work. Because if you take that example that I gave of that person who can cook anything or make anything based on just looking at a recipe and getting a little bit of direction, right? It's not necessarily simple to sit in the kitchen and whip up this big meal that they've never made before, they've never seen it or tried it before, and they're just going off of a recipe and an explanation. It might be hard, you know, the meal prep, they have to go out and get the groceries for it. They got take that versus me doing it. I'll go in there and sit in that kitchen, get the same ingredients, and work towards putting that thing together, and it'll take me 3 times as long, and it'll be half as good in terms of how it tastes. And that's just the way it is. That's not my particular gift. It could still be a hobby of mine. It could still be something I like. It could still be something I could become good at, but it's not something that I could become better than somebody who is gifted for that specific thing. So think of the things that you do with your life. Think about the ones that are more difficult for you, and think about the ones that come a little bit easier. And the ones that come easier and natural to you, those are your gifts. And when you know your gifts, you don't got to do anything extra special. You just have to fine tune and tap into those things. Let me see. To me, a gift is an innate talent that comes naturally, but in order to be successful and honor a gift, you have to work at it and give it time. Well said, Danny. Well said. Well said. And I think that is a great note for me to close this live on, because I have to get back to work. But thanks everyone for tuning in, and hopefully see you later today.